Cabinet minister resigns in relation to the Greenbelt land swap scandal.
He should be held accountable.
This scandal keeps ticking on.
We're live in Khalid Rasheed's Mississauga riding tonight with reaction to the latest twist in the ongoing scandal that polls show continues to chip away at Doug Ford's support.
The curriculum that we're talking about, all it's doing is acknowledging that people like me exist.
Plus the heated demonstrations that played out across the province today over gender identity and expression in Ontario classrooms.
It never hurts to have a little extra muscle in your lineup.
A lot of kind of piss and vinegar.
And will tough guy add-ons in the offseason be the difference maker the Leafs need? Why the club thinks the extra strength will help as training camp officially gets underway. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. The Premier's office was forced into damage control again tonight after a second cabinet minister resigned over the spiraling Greenbelt scandal. The housing minister left earlier this month, and today Mississauga MPP and cabinet minister Khalid Rasheed left. Not just cabinet, but the PC caucus as well. The latest resignation follows statements Rasheed now admits were incorrect, that were made under oath to Ontario's Integrity Commissioner about a trip he took to Vegas involving a top political staffer to Ford and a developer who benefited from the Greenbelt land swap. Anam Khan joins us live from Rasheed's riding in Mississauga. Anam, how are voters there reacting to all of this news?
The voters that I spoke with were satisfied with his decision to step down. While the opposition says this latest resignation is just a scratch on what it calls a corruption crisis, Rasheed seems to be defiant that he'll be able to clear his name.
They are in demand by...
Khalid Rasheed has held the riding of Mississauga East Cooksville since 2018, winning with a healthy margin last year. And the now former Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery was seen as a rising star in Doug Ford's cabinet until now.
Dishonest people do not deserve to be in the government or anywhere for that matter.
He should be held accountable.
Today, Rasheed on social media said he resigned from Ford's and the PC caucus, but said he'd be staying on as the MPP for the riding. While incredibly difficult, this decision was made so as not to distract from the important work of the government, he said in a statement, adding he will take the steps required to clear his name. This comes weeks after Rasheed told Ontario's Integrity Commissioner under oath that he went to Vegas with Amin Massoudi, one of Ford's top political staffers. And while there, Rasheed told the commission he'd bumped into Shaker Rahmatullah, a developer whose land in the Greenbelt was approved for housing and who is also a friend of Ford. But reports by CTV News and the Trillium website revealed a different picture of the trip, that the three men had done more than just bump into each other. They'd booked massages and mani-pedis in the same spa at the same time. Yesterday, Rasheed admitted he shared incorrect information about the date of the trip and how he'd paid for it.
A cabinet minister appeared to have actually lied, maybe perjured himself in front of the Integrity Commissioner. This is really troubling. It's very serious.
It comes barely 2 weeks after Ford's housing minister, Steve Clark, resigned cabinet over his handling of the Greenbelt land swaps. And after Clark's chief of staff, who played a key role in the saga, resigned too. Experts say this latest resignation is an attempt by the Ford government to change the channel yet again on the ongoing scandal.
We'll have to see what happens if this is the end of it, but we don't really know how many other ministers or how many officials had interactions like this with developers.
But that's not enough, says this political observer.
This scandal keeps ticking on, that they've tried to turn the page. There's a new chief of staff, new minister, now another new minister, and yet there's still so many unanswered questions.
So the Premier's office said Rasheed will only be able to return to the PC party if he's cleared through the Integrity Commissioner. And they also said they'll name a new minister in the coming days. All
right, Anam Khan reporting live for us tonight in Mississauga. Tempers flared today at some schools across the province and on the grounds of Queen's Park as protesters and counter-protesters shouted each other down over gender and sexual identity being discussed in Ontario classrooms. A 47-year-old woman was even charged for bringing a weapon, though it's unclear tonight which side she was on. Still, it shows the heated nature of the debate that some say is about acknowledging people's true identity, while others say it's about indoctrination. Dale Manukduk covered the protests for us.
That was the message from Queen's Park to city halls across the GTA, including Pickering and Mississauga, among others. Thousands gathered for what organizers call the 1 Million March for Children.
It's about saying what is age appropriate and who ultimately can be the arbiters of that discussion. We believe that it's parents. Parents should be the ones who have the final say over what their kids are taught.
Change the education system, the whole thing, yeah. And just boycott the LGBTQ stuff.
Parents expressed concern about children using preferred pronouns, where in some cases parents are kept out of the loop to protect the child. The TDSB's policy on gender prioritizes the student's consent regardless of age.
For parents to not have a say in the conversation is not going to work out. So we want to restore back those fundamental basic rights that parents have always had and make sure that it's not taken away from us through policy or legislation.
It's not up to the teachers, it's not up to the school boards to indoctrinate our kids.
That was Premier Doug Ford speaking to supporters 2 weeks ago.
So frustrated with the inflammatory messaging of this government. Stating that teachers are looking to indoctrinate children. We spend a lot of time just keeping children safe and loved.
This woman joined one of several counter-protests, which also drew thousands across the country.
Trans kids are welcome here.
There was also strong support from school boards in the GTA, Toronto, Halton, Peel, and Durham issuing similar statements standing with LGBTQ communities, supporting human rights and expression of gender.
If you're a supportive parent, they'll come to you first before they go to anyone else. We just want to make sure that young people have places they can go. And really, the curriculum that we're talking about, all it's doing is acknowledging that people like me exist.
The education minister was not made available for an interview today. In a statement, a ministry spokesperson said, irrespective of your faith, heritage, sexual orientation, or color of skin, our government is firmly committed to the safety and well-being of all children in Ontario schools. Our firm commitment is to continually support the voices of parents across Ontario's education system. The Ministry of Education in Ontario does allow for parents to apply for an exemption from sexual health material. Those are given out on an individual basis. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
In Ajax, police are investigating after a woman was found with life-threatening injuries early this morning.
Officers arrived on scene along with fire and emergency medical services and located a female lying on the roadway. That female appeared to have heavy head trauma. She was immediately loaded into an ambulance and transported to a Toronto area trauma center.
Police say the woman is in her 50s and she was discovered in the Harwood and Kingston Road area shortly after 5 a.m., but it's still not clear how she was injured. We have an update to a story we first told you last week. Toronto police arrested the driver of a motorcycle that allegedly intentionally struck a cyclist last month on Dundas Street. Dashcam footage was provided to CBC by the cyclist's lawyer. The cyclist suffered serious injuries and the motorcyclist fled the scene. The cyclist's lawyer argues it was an intentional act, saying the motorcyclist looked back after the hit. Police arrested 39-year-old Haider Ali Al-Garawi yesterday. He faces 3 charges, including aggravated assault and failure to stop at the scene of an accident. All right, looking live outside, it's 16 degrees and partly cloudy tonight. Colette Kennedy is joining us now with a first glance at the forecast. And not quite as chilly tonight as it was overnight last night and certainly this morning, Colette.
Yeah, we hit some single digits for sure. In fact, we'll take a look here at just a moment with some of those numbers this morning. And still some cool air out there, but again, it's away from the GTA, or at least a little bit away. And we will see an overnight low that's a bit milder. But speaking of some of those readings, 6 a.m. this morning, Barrie, Muskoka came in 2 degrees at 3 for Kitchener. And then I know it almost seems unfair, 15 Chatham Kennett. That time this morning and for Windsor as well. And then through the afternoon hours, that's where the heat has been, mid-20s here. And in fact, they may see, 26, 27 coming their way. And that's kind of the story for the next few days, is that our temperatures, you'll see I have the highs in the low 20s. We could see that bump a bit if that warm air presses in just enough to get past the cold that's pushing from the north. And that's really the battleground that we're into. Either way, we have some nice conditions. Yes, some spotty isolated showers popping up tomorrow afternoon. That will stay towards the London area, and we'll see that likely just bring a little extra cloud cover into the city. 11 to 12 tonight for those lows, and tomorrow afternoon 21 with sunshine and just some high-level cloud, Chris.
Sounds pretty good for mid-September. Thank you, Colette. Now to the latest attempt to improve safety on the TTC. The Transit Authority is hiring more staff after several violent incidents. Ali Chiasson has more on what's changing.
TTC riders, we want you back. We don't want you to feel anxious.
Mayor Olivia Chow, the TTC chair and CEO, are here to announce that they have listened to people's safety concerns, moved some money around, and have come up with this.
My priority for TTC is a faster and safer system, which means more staff.
They're proposing adding 178 new TTC personnel.
130 highly visible customer service agents and 30 field supervisors. We're also proposing new staff and resources to support those who use the transit system as a shelter in winter months.
The TTC will pay for this with $10 million in savings from not yet having to operate the delayed Finch and Eglinton LRTs.
The safety of employees and customers is a top priority for the TTC.
Last year saw several high-profile violent crimes on the system. Many were random, prompting a safety review.
Staff presence was the most important feature to enhance a sense of safety.
Not everyone can defend himself against the aggressors and these thieves, so I think more security will be better for women, children.
How do you keep yourself safe when you're riding the TTC?
Me, I just try to keep close to the wall, I try to just stay away from people in general.
I'm always safe. I always feel safe. I never have felt threatened ever, and I've lived here my entire life.
The hope is the increased staff will serve as a deterrence to crime. There is also a plan to add 6 temporary shelter buses, which will transport people using the subway network to keep warm to shelter spaces in the winter.
I feel it would help as long as they are able to promote it effectively and give it to the people who really need it, not just as a Band-Aid for the situation and just to make everyone else feel safe.
The new staffing proposal will go to a committee meeting next week, and if approved, we could see the new TTC personnel along the transit line as early as November. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to a new pilot project that'll affect the way some of us pay for parking. City Hall reporter Sean Jeffords explains what you need to know.
Do a more comprehensive review.
The city's infrastructure committee endorsed a plan today that could push paying for on-street parking further online.
We've all been there on the cold day, climbing over the slush bank or the slush and the snowbank to go pay and come back to your car. That would be eliminated with the mobile-only payment system.
Instead of pay-in display machines or meters, drivers would use the Green P app, text, or a QR code.
In 2016, when the Toronto Parking Authority launched the Green P app, there was a major uptake in use. Flash forward to 2023, nearly 75% of all of their customer transactions are done on this app. Now move to 2025, and they're anticipating that 85% of all of those transactions will be done on a mobile phone.
The pilot would last for a year and take place in 13 small zones downtown. Mayor Olivia Chow says there will be alternatives for people who don't use smartphones or are from out of town.
We'll monitor it, and we certainly don't want to make it hard for those that don't use a smartphone.
The committee also adopted a motion from Councillor Diane Sachs, who's asking the city to simultaneously review on-street parking fines. They haven't budged for over a decade, and she says the $30 ticket for parking illegally just isn't enough.
It's completely ineffective in deterring illegal behavior. And what we see now is that people deliberately park illegally because it's cheaper than paying for commercial parking. In some places, it's even cheaper than paying the parking meter.
Cycle Toronto's Allison Stewart says a push to remove pay and display stands and parking meters is good for pedestrians and cyclists.
If we were able to free up more space, it would make it easier for people walking, wheeling, and parking their bikes, for example. There's a lot of competition for this valuable real estate.
The pilot proposal must still be approved by City Council next month. Sean Jefford, CBC News, Toronto.
Taking you back to provincial politics, and Liberal leadership candidates battled it out today. It was their second debate and the first one held in Toronto.
How do we expect different result from you than Doug Ford, who's given away our greenbelt to his buddies?
You know what? I'm very proud of my fundraising record. We need a leader who can raise money. And
At any cost?
I'm raising a war chest, and we're going to need a war chest to fund these guys.
Bonnie Crombie being questioned there on ties to developers after receiving campaign donations from some of the same companies that donated to Doug Ford and the PCs. The 5 candidates agreed on more than they disagreed, that's for sure, on issues like building more affordable housing, protecting public health care, and attacking their main competition, Doug Ford. There are 3 debates left with a vote at the end of November and the new leader announced on December 2nd. Hey, welcome back. The Toronto Maple Leafs officially opened training camp today, and we all know how last season ended in disappointment in the playoffs. Well, this season, there are several new enforcers on the team, but the core group remains the same. Greg Ross has more on the team's chances this time around.
The Cousins scores!
It's a new season, but past failure still looms large for this team. The Leafs have a core group of players that have only won a single playoff round in 7 years of playing together.
Going through all that together and, just builds a trust and a bond that's very deep.
Leafs captain John Tavares says adversity has only made them stronger, and so has the addition of some key tough guys in the offseason.
It never hurts to have a little extra muscle in your lineup.
Austin Matthews says he's looking forward to playing with the likes of Ryan Reeves, Max Domi, and Tyler Bertuzzi. All players brought in by Leafs new GM Brad Treliving to add some grit, which he used a colorful term to describe in the offseason and now seems to be regretting.
I should probably never use the word snot. I've heard a lot about that.
Mitch Marner prefers a different term to describe his new teammates.
I think all guys we added are great. I'll bring a lot of kind of piss and vinegar.
Whether it be determination to find a way to win or spark from the new faces on the team, Treliving says his players are motivated, even showing up to Toronto weeks in advance to get an early start on the season.
For the most part, this group's been here for three weeks, maybe more, as a group, skating together, doing things together. There's a real seriousness about them, and I think that stems from a lot of the experiences they've gone through.
William Nylander busting in, scores!
For William Nylander, the extra time will be key. Coach Sheldon Keefe says he'll likely have a new role with the team this year.
Willie's going to start at center in camp tomorrow, so it's something, obviously, with that being the case, we have considered it. I've talked to Willie about it. Tree and I have talked a lot through the offseason about it.
Leaf fans will get their first opportunity to see this new version of the team this weekend when preseason action gets underway. The Leafs will play their regular season opener on October 11th at home against the Montreal Canadiens. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
So with hockey's start around the corner, we know, Colette, to expect some cooler weather as well and all the baggage and gear that comes with it.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. I mean, never mind getting the kids dressed for this kind of weather when things sort of change through the day. It's hard enough to figure it out for ourselves. But let's take a look at that recess forecast for tomorrow. What helps is that it won't be as cool a start tomorrow morning as it was this morning. So this morning we started off at 8 degrees. We'll look at this by 10 a.m. tomorrow. We'll be up around 16. We'll see things warming up nicely. We may get some of that higher thin cloud due to some of the activity to the the west of us, so look for that into the later afternoon. But even by 2 p.m., 20 degrees. Nobody plays hopscotch anymore, do they? I don't know. I'm a little out of date with that, but that's what we'll put in there. And definitely any of us, if you can, take that lunch outside. Okay, daytime highs. Look at this heat off to the west. Yes, it's stateside, but some of this streaming up towards northwestern Ontario. And this is coming eastward. Winds are just kind of tucked into it today at 25 degrees this afternoon. But that cooler air that's pushing back is kind of taken over Lake Ontario and the eastern edge of Lake Erie. And because of that and us being right on the line, we may get a bit of a push in our temperatures, but it's going to be a struggle. Even if we don't, there's still a degree or two above seasonal. So a few isolated showers tonight and tomorrow afternoon possible to the west of the city. You see that, London, be looking out for that. Possibly stretching up towards Georgian Bay, but highly isolated. And other than that, we're actually going to see a pretty fine day with some really nice conditions. Once again, overnight temperatures, these are going to fluctuate. Toronto, I do expect us to drop down to 12 degrees, but we'll rebound very quickly. 21 tomorrow, 22 on Friday. A chance of showers Sunday, Chris, but it is just that, and it's looking slimmer and slimmer.
That's looking like a great weekend. Thanks, Colette. Finally tonight, the Arkells rocked a unique marketing stunt today in honor of their 9th studio album called Laundry Pile. The Hamilton Band gave people a shot at playing DJ with their new tunes. Check out how.
The song is
Your Name.
Your Name. We did a music video here, and the laundromat was going out of business, but they had the space available, so we figured this was the right place to put out an album called Laundry Pile. I have this laundry basket, and there's 10 t-shirts in here, and each t-shirt has a different song title. This one, for instance, is a song called Quiet Love, and we'll play that song. And then the next group will come in, and we'll just do that for 3 hours.
What's your name? Just about everything. We're just huge fans of the Arkells. We love their music. We love how down-to-earth they are.
I'm a big fan of their Michigan Left album. But as they come out with more and more, I feel like he's really getting into his groove in the pocket, per se.
I thought it was a cool idea to have these small, like, little concerts with small groups and be able to experience, like, them so up and close and personal.
Just about everything. Love ain't no joke.
This record was something that felt different than anything we'd done before, and that's always the goal.
Never been to a concert in a laundromat before, that's for sure. That's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. Maribel Tarouk has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and Angelina King will be with you tomorrow at 11. Have a great night, everyone.